What's up, folks? Welcome back to another edition of Charm City Heavyweights Podcast, brought to you by the great folks at Grade 8 Sports Memorabilia in Parkville, Maryland. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. With me, as always, Josh Merrill. What's going on, man?
What's up, Matt? Coming live from the Man Cave, and welcome to the Man Cave for all the Man Cave fans out there.
Yes, we got quite a few, man. They love the memorabilia you got going on, and whenever you decide to show it. Got a special, guest tonight. A good friend of mine. I've known Chuck for about, I'd say, the better part of the last 5 or 6 years. We worked together professionally. Chuck Banks is a former NFL running back. He played on the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Oilers in the mid 80s, and he is the newly elected president of the NFL Players Association Baltimore chapter.
Sir,
Everybody, welcome Chuck Banks. How's it going, man?
it's going great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you coming on the show, man. Thank you for the, coming on short notice. I know we've been trying to lock this down for a little bit. You've been grinding in the day-to-day life. You've been traveling. Hope you had a good Easter Sunday, and how's everything treating you?
Everything is well, man. I came back from a meeting with the NFLPA up in Maui, Hawaii. So I
Wow.
was there for 4 days. They took us up there for a conference to get more information on how to have these meetings for the former players in Baltimore. So I gathered a lot of information in Maui. Took my wife and we just relaxed for the last 3 days, and it was great. A lot of information for the players, and at the end, we have family time, so it was really great.
That's great, man. I know that you previously served with the vice president of the Players Association alongside Harry Swain in the last term, and you ran for a year and you won. Kind of walk us through that, man. What did you have to do in order to move from VP to president for the Players Association chapter?
What happened, Trigger, is that a lot of things went on. Like Harry was an amazing president, but I had different views. We want the same thing, but I just wanted to reach out a little bit harder in the community. And we just came to grips, and he was like, "You know what, Chuck? I'll let you go for president, and I'll just, allow that to happen." And I appreciate that. So what I'm doing now is I'm connecting with a lot of community sponsorships right now. So far, like JP Morgan, I got a nonprofit called Notre Dame nonprofit in Baltimore. I could be saying it incorrect, but we're working on some different things like golf tournaments, things like that. So things has been progressing. I met a lot of players, former players up at Maui in Hawaii in a chapter. So things are going to be moving a little stronger than before, and I'm excited about that.
That's great. So just to kind of give everybody a background, you were an NFL running back and fullback in the in the mid '80s when football was a lot
Football
different,
was
man.
football.
Football was
It was
football. You're right.
you played on some great teams with some legendary players. You uh, were in the same backfield as Eric Dickerson when he was in Indianapolis. You played with Warren Moon in Houston, and you were wearing your Houston Oilers practice shirt that is probably older than Josh and I.
And I'm proud of it.
So it's I'm sure it's it's a challenge to say the least, being as though that you're the new Baltimore chapter president and you're more or less 40 years removed from the game and seeing how everything's progressing and maintaining your professional life, your family life. What has it been like connecting with players of the more recent generations?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question, Trigger. The thing is that the generation, of course, everything changes over time. I get that, but think these men right now who plays in college, NFL, they are real stronger and faster, man. They are a little more adapt to the game. It's moving like a fast forward, but a lot of the rules have changed based on when I played. So what I'm trying to do now is to connect to these players who have maybe 2 years in the league in Baltimore City and surrounding counties to come to our meetings in Baltimore City and also surrounding counties to get them involved. To now is more about what do we have to offer you as a former player to be more involved as far as benefits, as far as insurance, as far as anything that we can help you along the way. Entrepreneurship, scholarships for the family, the wild. It's an array of different things that we can offer to these players after the game. Because the game has changed. Even though it's changed, it's faster and stronger and much more, idolized. These former players still need to have some kind of outlet to go to. Because one thing I can say is we're still family, regardless if I'm in 1986 or 2018. One thing I can say that we one family, regardless of the years.
That's a good point. How many years does an NFL player have to play in the league to qualify for the benefits offered by the NFL?
The NFL offers 4 years as a vested player, which means that you get the insurance, you get the benefits past that, and health insurance that's really not covered, but they offer an array of different things like dental, eye vision, but you also get a pension after 4 years. So
Huh.
what I'm looking for, like myself, is a 2 year player, because of injuries. I did 2 years in the NFL. So I'm looking at players who have 2 years like myself. And there's an array of benefits that's out there for these players to be more involved with players who are vested. We still the same as one family. So there's a lot of opportunity to learn more about what I can do as the president of the chapter in Baltimore of the NFLPA to reach out to these players to let them know that you're not by yourself.
How does it? I know that it's got to be a difference in pricing, and like you said, you work on it with their families and with them. I'm sure that insurance companies are a lot, less forgiving for you guys, considering the amount of abuse that your bodies have taken over the years and the liability for future surgeries and future procedures, and the breakdown of vision, the breakdown of joints. Do you work closely with a particular insurance group, or do you kind of have a network with multiple different find the best care for players in their after career days?
You know what? Once again, Trey, that's a great question, man. So right now, the NFLPA is in line with Tulane University in New Orleans, and what they do is they do a wellness check. I just went last week up in it was a Arundel Mills at Live Casino. So what we do is you have to sign up online. Once you are NFL player for 2 years or more, you're able to get this free benefit. So what they do is we have to go there to. I went to Arundel Mills. They did a total body evaluation, um, and they give you results back to give to your primary doctor. So even though people may think now, insurance companies, the NFLPA has offered so many benefits, that you have to utilize, and I've utilized that. And I went there, and it took about 3 hours, and I had a chance to see a lot of the former Baltimore Colts. I saw some former players in Denver Broncos. And we had a nice camaraderie, but we all went for the same benefit. That's for a wellness check. So after your playing days are over, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are, a principal at a high school, a college professor, we offer you the same benefits of 2 years or more as a player to get a wellness check. That's instrumental on knowing that your primary doctor may not have the resources to do that, but the NFLPA has offered this service through Tulane University to give us a free screening of your entire body.
Oh,
Wow.
that's incredible. That's a very fortunate situation for you guys, and I know a lot of the players that you mentioned, probably from the Baltimore Colts. That team has been, you know, they haven't been on a field in 50 years, and some of those guys 40 years,
Yes,
and
stay away from them.
and I'm
I saw
and
him, he was sitting next to me, at the evaluation. So yeah, it's just like I get an array of even staying working for Baltimore Colts and myself, being from Baltimore City. went to Northwestern High School, went to Baltimore City Public Schools, went to West Virginia Tech, and just sit next to Stan White for the Baltimore Colts was important to me, man.
How many different NFL teams are represented in the Baltimore chapter? I know that it's more than just guys that played here. I know there's some guys that settled in after their playing days to come back home. Is there a good amount of different NFL teams represented with your chapter?
Well, there are 33 right now chapters throughout the United States. From Atlanta to Chicago to New Orleans, to Louisiana, New Orleans to Arizona. So what we do is the NFLPA, what they offer us is the presidents all come together as one, and that's what we had the meeting in Maui to come together, brainstorm to see what we can do to help the former players to develop, past football, because football is short lived. Of course, you know that. So the thing about it, after football, sometimes we have a struggle on how we're going to create your life and your family after football. I'm fortunate enough to meet you, you know, without profession, knowing that I played the game and then we connected. But past that, there's a lot of information out there that we have to let these players know you're not alone, that we're here for you. So as a president, I want to make sure that I can get it out there and to let them know that I'm here for whoever needs any assistance whatsoever. NFLPA offers an array of different um, programs and scholarships for the family and the wives and everything else. So we're here, man, and I'm staying.
What do you see as the biggest issue, not in a non-physical manner, not pertaining to health? What is the biggest issue that former players face that you have helped address so far during your term as vice president and now president?
You said non-NFL.
No, the non-injury
Oh,
aspect. What's the biggest aspect that you address and help other players with that doesn't relate to their health?
I want to say mental health. Mental
Okay.
health is a big thing. I know it's not health, but mental health is a big key factor. The second thing I would say is entrepreneurship. I think sometimes these players, we've made a lot of money over the years, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It's way past the median of the United States as far as income. So in whatever year you make money, that income you're used to that. So I think what happens is that transition of being in the spotlight and being around 80,000 fans, and all of a sudden you are, reality sets in. You still have to provide for your family. I think that's the one of the main thing I think a lot of players struggle with. You know, and I think what happens is being from the elite as far as the NFL player to now coming back to society in a sense, like realistically, to being a 9 to 5 guy, or getting your own business, or you start a profit, or talking on a talk show. Those things are important to us. I think that's the struggle for us right
Now, I wanted to touch on something that you mentioned, mental health, and Josh is a big proponent on mental health. He's talked about it in previous shows. He's addressed it himself, as have I, over the years in our private lives. Josh, I know that this is your forte, man. Uh, got anything you want to add to that?
No,
On the men-
everything he said, I just think is awesome. That can save guys' lives, man. A lot of times people feel alone, so definitely want to spread that message because that can save so many lives. How many people take their own life, and never reached out? So it's good to hear, man. There's not enough stuff like that.
now.
Not just like for NFL guys, but for everyone.
Yeah, for everyone. You're right, Josh. And the thing is that so for me as a president, I focus mainly, of course, on former players. But as a society, we need to focus on mental health.
Mhm.
And I think that's very important just throughout as a human being, not as a former NFL player, but as a human being. Regardless of who you are in society, that mental health is important. And I think there's a lot of avenues to take to get that happen. For former players, there's a big percentage of us who struggle with mental health because of the um, it's almost like the trajectory of where you are and where you're going without the fans, and the fans are a big
Yeah,
factor. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And the money, of course, is, but also just the camaraderie, having a
yeah,
team and your teammates to be part of a family. So
yeah,
when you leave that family, you have your, of course, your own family, but you had two families, man. Your
yeah,
teammates and your family. So now you got
yeah,
your family, and of course, you miss your teammates.
yeah.
So that's a big struggle sometimes for us.
I always ask a lot of NFL guys that we have on like the transition because like you just said it, you're playing in front of millions of people across the world. You're making money, and then it's over. And now you're like back in the real world almost. That's got to be tough.
It is, Josh. And the thing is, tough is kind of the low bar end of it. What I'm gonna say, it's a reality, like the real world. Like we go through
Yeah,
college and you're this elite athlete, coming
yeah,
from inner city or whatever, Kansas, whatever, and you get
yeah,
to this elite level of professionalism, and you're making an X amount of dollars, and everything is great. You're making all this. You make the woman of your life, and things just change to the better. Then all of a
yeah,
sudden, if you're not stable enough to save money and to invest your money and
yeah,
to create a stability for after football, that's when a lot of people have a lot of issues.
yeah,
So when you have money, you got to invest, you got to do this, you got to save, you got to, start a business. So that's what the NFLPA is trying to do now. They've been doing
yeah,
it, but I'm just trying to get the word out more to these players that we have entrepreneurship opportunities. We got scholarships for the family. We got vision and dental. We have an array of things that we can do to help you to get through this.
yeah. And I also see like the NFL has now for rookies. They do like the money management thing. When rookies coming in, they teach them how to invest and how to save their money and what's most likely a scam. Because you used to hear so many stories about guys going broke, either their agent ripped them off somehow, or they did a bad business deal with their friend or cousin, and they go broke. It's terrible to hear those stories, but I'm glad I heard that they do that now. Is that true, or is that like a?
No, that's true. And
Yeah,
one
that's
thing
good
about
there.
it, that's a great point. Because I'm gonna just use Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
Everything's going around about him not having an agent. His mother apparently is his advisor. You know what? That's okay. It's nothing wrong with that. Trust me when I tell you. Having an agent is a great opportunity to, for you not to absorb all the information that's involved in negotiating a contract. It's a lot of work. So if Lamar Jackson wants to have his parents or his family member reach out and be his spokesperson to get what he deserves to get, then so be it. I mean, it doesn't mean that, he's no different from me. Or when I had an agent in Philadelphia. It was a great agent, but I paid him a lot of money,
yeah,
so I didn't have to do anything. So if he feels like he just wants to do it himself, so be it, man. Don't beat this man down because he's trying to get what he deserves without an agent.
Do you see that being a situation where it can affect him on the field, knowing that he okay moving forward, that is, whether he's in Baltimore or not, Chuck? Do you see the fact that now the front office is telling him to his face every reason that they don't want to pay him or that they shouldn't pay him? Do you think that's gonna have an on field effect, or do you think that he can compartmentalize?
It will have an effect. Whatever you read in the papers, we go to the field. We try to clear our mind. So whatever you think that we don't have on the field, it comes on the field, regardless of what's going on. The back of your mind is still there. He's looking at an amazing amount of money that can be life changing for generations. So he cannot go to the field and not think about that. Making the the money he's making right now, what he could be making either with the Ravens, would I love him to be here, or anywhere else. So yes, there is some instrumental part that you take to the field, but once you get to that field, things kind of change when you're around your teammates and you know that you want to win that game. That goes in the back end. You understand? So it's still there, but it's not on the forefront. And that's how we
Now,
are different from everybody else as an athlete, a professional athlete.
now, I do want to ask you this. I know that you played in a completely different era where there was no social media, there was
Football
no.
was football.
It was a football was football. Absolutely, I'm talking about on the off the field aspect, Chuck. You didn't have to
Mhm.
worry about Facebook or TikTok or Twitter or anything like that. You didn't even have to worry about a cell phone for that matter.
Yeah.
Uh, and and this has been odd for the Baltimore Ravens organization the last couple of years, where a lot of their dirty laundry has been aired out by current and former players. Do you think that this is going to be the new trend with players speaking out, or do you think that this is just a rough time with the organization not being able to keep things behind closed doors?
It's not just the Ravens. It's just this is our society right now. It's just what it is. Like Odell Beckham signed an amazing contract for 1 year. When I read that today, I was like, oh my goodness, good for him. Good for him. You know what I mean? So, and he was on social media with his teeth out and he's running from ear to ear, as I would be if I got $18 million. You
Mhm.
understand? So, social media plays an important factor in how we do things. Things leak out. It's just our society right now. And I didn't have that. So, everything back then was a little low key. Right now, everybody can see what happens immediately when it happens. So if it's detrimental to the moving forward, that's part of what it is. So Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, has been doing a great job with what he's doing. I think that he deserves what he needs to get, regardless of what it is, whether with the Ravens or whoever. He's an amazing athlete. He's an amazing person, and I think that all that combined can just let you know that what we have to go up against with the draft coming forward.
But Chuck, don't you think though? I mean, it's leaked. The Ravens have offered him $200 million guaranteed at signing. I mean, when does it get to a point though where enough is enough?
No,
No.
no. Let me be honest with you. Okay,
Uh-huh.
this is enough isn't enough because you always feel like you deserve more. Like in the job that you have right now, I'm quite sure at some point in time we feel like I deserve to have X, Y, and Z. And Lamar
Absolutely.
has proven that he deserved to have X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to get into numbers.
Yeah.
So there's not a point where you feel like enough's enough. You can have, Bill Gates. He don't stop enough is enough. You can have, Elon Musk. Enough isn't
Mhm.
enough. That's why they're billionaires. Once you
Right.
have that settled in your brain and your mind, enough's enough, enough is enough, then what good are you? You settled for what it is. You always got to keep reaching forward, man. So I have to say no, enough isn't enough until you get to the point where you can prove yourself as a man and just change communities, change cities, change lives. Like use that to have the platform to be philanthropist to increase what your heart desires to. Like get into position to be the man who can create something different for another generation. That's when you can say, okay, you know what? I'm okay with that. So if I say enough's enough right now, and my dreams are way bigger past me, my dream is Baltimore City. It's this community. So right now, if they give me $20 million, that's not enough.
Mhm.
That's a fair assessment when you look at it from that perspective. And I do want to ask you this: uh, a lot of fans have placed part of the blame on this Lamar Jackson contract situation. They've kind of, the cities, of course, the fan base is divided. Half blame the organization, half blames Lamar Jackson, but there's a certain fraction of the fan base that thinks that the NFL Players Association is being a detriment to Lamar as opposed to a problem solver. And by telling him to essentially keep his distance and not step on the field again until he has a new contract in hand. Fall in the thought process of the detriment to Lamar Jackson with the Players Association? Do you believe that they're truly just looking out for his best interest and they're taking a hardline approach with an organization that could potentially be railroading their star quarterback?
Well, let me say this straight right now. NFLPA, I'm gonna speak on as a player, not for the actual union. They do not get involved with anything to do with negotiations for contracts. They look out for every player and every former player that's out there. So when we went to Hawaii, Maui, they had active and former players there. I was with active players who played for the Rams, the Bears, the Eagles. You were all there, man, as one big family. And they had that, they expressed their concerns about different topics. So we, as a chapter in Baltimore, I know for sure, being the president of the NFLPA, they do not get into any discussion about any ongoing negotiations for salaries. They support Lamar Jackson. I support Lamar Jackson, and that's what it is. Past that, trust me, there's no more, no less than what it is of what we have to do for each and every former and active player in the league.
It's interesting that you're saying this because we've talked to quite a few former players, and we do talk to our listeners on social media in comment sections, and the divide has been pretty clear. But to hear it from somebody directly associated to the Players Association that there's no interference on the contract part, it's just a self interest and looking out for player safety because at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson played in a year where he should have honestly sat out. And Bernard Pollard came on the show recently and said the same thing. Uh,
Daniel
Bryant
Wilcox said the same thing.
Daniel Wilcox said the same thing. Bryant McKinney. So all these guys were like, I wouldn't have stepped on the field if I didn't have a new contract in place. And some people want to point the finger at the NFL Players Association. I do pay attention to the message boards and the comment boards on a lot of these situations, but it's refreshing to hear that you guys don't get involved in the contract side because that's risky business at that point, be filling in somebody else's financials.
Absolutely, man. So, like I said, one thing I can say as president of the chapter in Baltimore is that I know my limit, and hearing what I've heard over in Maui when I was in Hawaii is that we support everybody on the field. Injuries, if you get injured, contract negotiations, whatever you deserve to have as a player, that's what we're going to do. We're going to support you. So Lamar wants, guaranteed. He wants X amount of dollars, millions of dollars. So that's what he wants. Now, whether or not they want to pay him or not, that's a different story. But one thing, rest assured, the NFLPA will be behind him and everybody, in that matter, who is part of the NFL right now as active or former players.
Do you believe that there's been any type of collusion dealing with him or other players? Do you believe that the collusion is being less and less of a hidden agenda and more on the forefront?
Collusion on what party?
On paying players and trying to drive down the yearly salary for these star players, because just for reference purposes, since Deshaun Watson got his fully guaranteed deal 2 years ago, quarterback salaries on average have dropped 13 million per year from the highest paid to the least highest paid in terms of new contracts given out, the highest being Aaron Rodgers and the lowest being Derek Carr. Now I know there's a huge gap in resume and skill associated with those two guys, but the guarantees have gone down for the owners. And now Lamar Jackson is the latest quarterback to be negotiating, but he's by far the most popular and arguably the most talented since Rodgers to be up for a contract. Do you believe that there's any type of collusion on the part of the 32 owners in the league?
That's a that's a good point, man. You did your homework, Trigger.
I got to, man.
Yeah, you've done your homework. Okay, I'm going to say the main part of Lamar Jackson's problems of not being signed right now is his guaranteed contract. Guaranteed contract what Deshaun Watson received from Cleveland is not the norm for any NFL team in the league. First of all, secondly, he has fully guaranteed for. Am I correct to say 5 years, Trigger,
Yeah,
or
something like that.
Yes.
which is unbelievable in any sense of the word for NFL contract. Okay. Secondly, he set the standard for what to reach for as a player. So people behind him want to say, you know what, this is what he get, this is what I deserve, based on numbers, based on percentage, based on passing rate, based on even a running back, based on yardage per carry. All that's a factor. Incentive after that Pro Bowl, you make this X amount of dollars. Yes. So everything goes back to negotiation. So Deshaun Watson has created a standard of something that has never been done before since I've been alive in the league, have ever happened before. And I think that set a precedent to see where can I go from there. So that's what they have to reach for, and Lamar is reaching for what he deserves.
And I know that you guys have a very short shelf life when it comes to the NFL. More guys than not don't see a second contract. Some of them don't even see the duration of their rookie deal. And I truly believe that if Lamar had an agent or somebody that's skilled in contract reading, he would realize that he can make a lot of his money up in rather easy incentivized bonuses. Patrick Mahomes, for instance, he signed a 10-year, $500 million contract. 165 of it was guaranteed. So on the hindsight being 2020, Watson blew his guaranteed money out of the water compared to Patrick Mahomes. Now that 10 years, $500 million looks crazy on paper, but Mahomes has got a lot of his money tied to playoff appearances, being healthy, playoff
Yep.
wins, MVP wins, Super
Every
Yeah,
Bowl
his deal
wins.
his deal wasn't as pretty as it looked when he first signed it. All the truth's like come out now.
Correct. So, do you believe that if somebody were to sit down and at least explain this to Lamar, like, hey, you could get a lot of in reasonable statistical expectations, that it would speed things up on his end, just from a former player perspective?
Okay. From a former player perspective, don't you ever think he doesn't know what's going on?
Okay, fair
Don't you
enough.
ever think that he doesn't know incentive, percentage, all that what's going on? He knows what's going on. He knows exactly what's going on. Okay. So sometimes when people say he needs an agent, he's not representing him. I know he does not. There are plenty of players who went through the league without an agent who got top dollar. So Lamar is no different. So he knows exactly the percentage, the incentive, what's going on. So people may think because he has his family members or without an agent who represents him, you don't need an agent. You truly don't need an agent. But Lamar, because he's acting for XYZ amount of money and guaranteed contract guaranteed, that's a different ball game. But he knows what's going on. He knows his value for the Ravens. He knows the revenue that he can generate for the Ravens. He knows exactly the merchandise that's sold through the Ravens with Jackson on the back. So all that is coming into play, not just what he's getting, it's also what the Ravens are going to get with him. When people walk into the stadium, what do you see? Jackson.
That's
When they
true.
walk down the street, you see Jackson. That's not no pennies, man. The owners are making money off of Jackson's name. It's no different. So he knows exactly what he has to do. So when these fans out there, trust and believe, Lamar Jackson knows what he has to do to get top dollar for what he deserves to have in the league as a elite NFL quarterback.
When you put it that way, that's a lot to process and think about. You don't always think about the off the field stuff and the merchandise and the money that they make for
Ticket
the
sales,
team and
yeah,
all
it's
that.
all. Hmm.
So speaking of ticket sales and players being added to the team, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Ravens signing Odell Beckham. We kind of talked about him a little bit earlier. Odell is coming another major injury. He's torn the ACL before, but he's 30 years old. He's kind of not in the twilight of his career, but he's past his prime. He's a seasoned vet now. Uh, what do you think the addition of Odell Beckham does for the Baltimore Ravens?
Okay. Age, first of all, is a big factor. Being healthy is a big factor. Coming off knee surgery, that's a factor going into playing, 16, 18 games regular season, 17 games regular season. So to be healthy for that season, $18 million for 1 year, with incentive, guaranteed money, is a bit extreme, you know. But I think the Ravens, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the Ravens did a good job in getting Odell Beckham because remember, Lamar Jackson's under contract, right? So he can truly come back and accept his franchise tag and have Odell Beckham to be there as his number one, number two receiver. So don't you think Lamar Jackson's not a free agent at no point. He's still under contract for the Ravens. So to get Odell Beckham is a great move from the organization. Matt, 18 million, we can discuss that at a different time. But I think having Odell Beckham and Bateman, and you still got your tight ends, and just in the draft, you get some good, strong linemen to fill those voids. You know, you still got Cleveland. What 2 3rd year into the league. There's some strong guys up front, man. There's a lot going on. You got your defensive, at Norn, your Queen, Patrick. Everybody's trying to, make top dollar, not just Lamar. It's not just him. People forgetting, that he's not the only one trying to get money. Everybody's making money, but they're making money for something they love to do. And when you sacrifice your body every week, it's something that you deserve to have as a guarantee to get you what you need. Because any day you can go down. So, and Lamar's a great athlete. He's fun. He knows exactly what to do. But at some point, you have to be okay. For me and my family at the end, I need this. And that's what he wants to do, man. It's not just being greedy. There's no greed involved. It's just getting what he does every week on the field that the fans see in the stadiums on TV, Thursday night football, Monday night football. That's owners' money. Lamar Jackson get them there. So he deserves to get what he can get.
Do you believe that Odell is a game changing wide receiver for this offense? I'm not going to say across the league because if he was a game changer in other teams' eyes, he'd have been signed long ago, if not at the end of last year. What do you think he presents in terms of the offense for Baltimore, knowing that they're going to be putting in a new system? He played in this system in 2019 when Todd Monken was the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. What do you think his potential impact is going to be on this offense this year?
I think Odell will give them a short passing game. I think Bateman, if he's healthy, can come back and be long range because of his age and health wise. Once you got that duo, Odell Beckham can still break away. He can still get open. We've seen that with Smith. We've seen it with a whole lot of wide receivers came through the system. Mason, they did that, man. So Odell Beckham, people may think that he's why do you give him X amount of dollars for his age? He can get it done, man. So, yes, he came out from the injuries and, he got a Super Bowl ring. Now you got a player who come in to get a different perspective with the ring. That makes a difference in the locker room. People don't talk about the locker room situation. He got a Super Bowl ring, man, like a recent Super Bowl ring with the Rams. So to bring this man in to the locker room and be a threat as a wide receiver, he's going to make some big, big plays, man. You'll see that he's going to be a big threat. He don't have the speed that he had back when he was, with the Giants, but he's going to be a big factor. And the Ravens know what they were doing with this man. That's why they gave him the 1 year, 18 million, whatever you want to say, 13, $50 million. Yeah, you're going to see it. He's going to deserve every penny you'll see on the field that you're going to be happy with him at the end of the day.
That's fair. Josh, what do you think, man?
I processed it, man. I didn't jump for joy like everybody did at first.
Yeah.
I thought about it. Once I got to the end, thinking that I'm happy about it. I think it was kind of a ploy to get Lamar to sign. I think it was a ploy to get back on Lamar's good side, and it worked. Obviously, he showed on his Instagram. He was happy with his Ravens chain on, and so it worked. I think we gave him too much money. I think we overpaid, but I think we had to overpay to get him here. I honestly thought it shocked me. I thought he was going to the Jets. He was supposed to visit them today.
You think Odell Beckham and Aaron Rodgers going to be with the same team?
Yeah, I think that's what he wanted, and then the Ravens just
That's what you
overpaid.
thought?
But look, this can go a few ways. Look, if he does well, it's great. It all works out. If he doesn't do well, but he stays healthy, that's going to help too because you still got Bateman. You can't just key in on Bateman or Andrews. It gives you another person the defense has to worry about. And if J.K. Dobbins stays healthy in the backfield, the offense can be dangerous if Lamar comes back. Now it's exciting. New offense, big receivers.
Yeah.
Exciting.
And that's the point. Now, I think you made a great point because people forget about, there's a lot of different veins through the offense and defense. It's not just Odell Beckham.
Right.
It's not just Andrews. There's a lot of, Dobbins and everything. It all comes together in training camp and mini camp and things like that. And I think that's what gets everybody, when you see that, when they a nucleus come together and we all on one page. And I remember going with Warren Moon in Houston in training camp. And we were just switching players. Every other play, we switching everybody out to see who benefits what position, who's going to stay. So when I made that team, and I was part of that with Warren Moon and Jory Hogaboom and the Colts, Eric Dickerson with the Colts. These guys are getting paid big money. So you got to fill those voids with people like myself, who are not making $1 million, you know what I mean? But,
Right.
they still make a nice living, but you enjoy the game. You enjoy the game, and it'll never go to a point where it's just money. The fans are a big, big factor. I remember Oyo's opening day. I was listening to some of the interviews. They thanked the fans like 5 times.
Right.
Opening day, they won against the Yankees. The fans, when they see what comes together, whether Lamar's there or not, I think it's going to be an amazing experience to see how things react from the hype. There's a lot of hype going on with Lamar. Lamar knows what Lamar knows, you know. And I think end of the day, I would love to see him back with the Ravens. I would love to see him back with Odell Beckham. I would love to see the defense get back together and just get everything created through training camp and mini camp and just be the dominant force who they are for years to come, man. I think they can do this, man. And I think Lamar Jackson, I'm not going to say he's the almighty, but he's a big factor. But if not, they're not. Ravens going to be the Ravens. You know how it is. We blue collar, man.
Yeah. We always figure out a way. We're always in it somehow, no matter what.
Yep.
But I definitely think this gives me confidence Lamar's coming back because I think Odell Lamar knows something, we don't know. Maybe the Ravens don't even know. But I think, you know, him signing here was a lot to do with maybe him and Lamar talk, like Lamar saying, I'm going to be there, you know,
Yeah.
like before he signed. So I think a lot of people are thinking that.
I think you're right. You know what? Honestly, man, I think that what you said right now means a lot. You know, whether the Ravens thought about this or not, bringing Odell Beckham and having Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson together. Okay, man, let's
yeah,
just do this franchise tag. I'm gonna get you to the Super Bowl. It's
yeah,
one goal. It's
yeah,
one goal, and that's the Super Bowl. That's
yeah,
it. No more, no less.
yeah,
That's it. It's nothing else in between. It's Super Bowl. So if Odell Beckham can helpfully help the offense, and maybe Lamar can come back, you know, for
yeah,
a franchise tag. I'm gonna make what 35 million, I believe it is,
yeah,
and stay healthy. Who knows the limit?
yeah,
Who knows the limit? So I agree with you, man, with that. I agree that there's some kind of leverage that the Ravens did in a smart way. You know, I
hmm
think they did overpaid him. Yes. Do you deserve it?
definitely.
It's up for debate.
Right.
But I think he brings a lot to the table. I think having a veteran like Odell Beckham and Lamar and coming back in with Andrews and the running backs of the line, I think, man, we could really do something, man. And even
Yeah,
if it's not that, even Huntley. Huntley had a rough patch at the end.
yeah,
He had a rough patch, but you know what? He's still there. He's not out of
yeah,
the equation.
yeah,
So regardless of what happens, there's a lot of weapons that the Ravens have that it can go to. And it's not just dollars and cents. It's
correct.
just about the fans. It's about the love of the game. It's about money, of course. It's about just getting everybody together, family, enjoy the game, and just have fun and win the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah,
Well, Chuck, I want to thank you, man, for taking some time out of your busy work week and your life as the NFL Players Association Baltimore chapter president. I want to congratulate you again on getting that. I know that
thank
we sat in your office many a times and talked
you.
about what you would do, and now you get to be the change you want to see for the chapter. And is there any place that our listeners support the chapter? Do you guys have a Facebook page or an Instagram or anything like that, or Twitter,
Yeah,
or
we have all social media. It's NFLPA Baltimore chapter. You can reach me through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, NFLPA Baltimore chapter. Pictures all over the place. You can send me emails through or messaging through the emails or through the social media. I'm not a secret. I'm out there. So if you see me in Baltimore City, and I'm always for the community. I'm for the youth. I'm for whatever I can do to reach out to community. But I need, like I said, thank you, Trick, for having me because I want to reach out to more people and let them reach out to me. Whatever I can do to help the community, for the youth, for high school, sports. I don't care what it is, man. It could be senior citizens. I just want Baltimore to be Baltimore. I love the crabs, hometown grown boy, man, and I just love the city, man. And I'm not stopping. So, hopefully, with talking with the mayor and getting things going, we can make some big changes, man.
that's fantastic.
Thanks for coming on, man.
I
Hang
appreciate it, man.
hang around for a second, Chuck. We're gonna do post show wrap up, off air for about 5 minutes. But
Okay.
Josh, go ahead and sign us off, man.
All right, Ravens fans, we finally got some good news. Something good finally happened. We got OBJ, and everybody's happy as shit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like it.